Hello, I am Jessica. Love is not bound by age, but there is a quiet truth many people only understand later in life. The love that comes after 60 is often the most genuine, the most peaceful, and the most real. This is what we call turning psychology, the moment in life when the heart does not become colder, but wiser. Imagine a simple story. Ramesh was 65. He had spent his entire life working, fulfilling responsibilities, taking care of everyone else, but never truly listening to his own heart. After losing his wife, he lived in silence, until one morning in a park he met Sarla. She too carried the weight of loneliness. At first there were only polite greetings, then small conversations, then gentle smiles, and slowly something changed inside both of them. It was not excitement, not youthful passion, but a calm presence that made them feel alive again. This is the turning psychology of love, where love is no longer a need but a quiet comfort that heals. After 60, a person's perspective transforms completely. In youth, love is often driven by attraction, desire, and expectations. But at this stage of life, a person has already seen reality, experienced loss, faced responsibilities, and understood the value of time. Now, love is no longer about impressing someone. It is about understanding someone. It is not about passing time. It is about sharing time. The heart does not open easily anymore, but when it does, it opens with honesty. Without games, without illusions, people begin to express love not through big words, but through small, consistent actions. This is why love after 60 is not based on need. It is based on choice, and anything chosen with awareness carries strength and truth. At this age, people fear loneliness, but they are not desperate for companionship. Instead, they become selective. They seek someone who can understand them without too many explanations. Love no longer has drama, it has silence, and that silence speaks deeply. A simple glance, a soft smile, sitting together without saying anything. These moments hold more meaning than grand gestures ever could. Physical attraction fades into the background, while emotional connection becomes the center. And that is why this kind of love lasts longer, because it is built on peace, not excitement. Turning psychology teaches that true love is not the one that makes your heart race, but the one that makes your heart feel at rest. At this stage of life, people do not look for perfection. They look for sincerity. They do not care about appearances as much as they care about truth. Love becomes something simple yet powerful. Sharing tea together, remembering old stories, sitting quietly side by side, and most importantly, not feeling alone in someone's presence. These are the things that younger love often overlooks, but they are the very foundation of deep connection. When a person finally understands themselves, only then can they truly love another without fear or expectation. And that is why love after 60 carries a depth that is rare. So the question is not about age, it is about the honesty of the heart. Love after 60 may be slow, but it is never false. It does not try to change you, it accepts you as you are, without conditions, without pressure. It brings a quiet sense of belonging that many spend their whole lives searching for. And if there is someone in your life who listens to you, understands you, and can sit with you in silence without making you feel empty, then you have found something truly special, something that not everyone is lucky enough to experience, because in the end, the most powerful love is not loud. It is the one that stays gently, calmly, and forever. There is a subtle shift that happens in the heart after 60, a shift that most people cannot see but can deeply feel. And this is where turning psychology becomes even more powerful, because now love is not just about connection, it is about healing what life has quietly broken over the years. Many people at this age carry invisible scars, unspoken regrets, lost chances, and memories that never truly faded. And when they meet someone who listens without judgment, something inside them begins to soften. Imagine Ramesh again. One evening, he sat quietly beside Sarla on a park bench. There were no grand conversations, no dramatic confessions, just the sound of the wind and the fading light of the sun. After a long silence, he said, "I thought my life was over when she left." And Sarla gently replied, "Sometimes life doesn't end. It just waits for us to feel again." In that moment, something changed. Not loudly, not suddenly, but deeply. This is the kind of love that grows slowly, like roots beneath the ground, unseen yet unshakable. In youth, people often rush into love, driven by fear of missing out or the desire to not be alone. But after 60, patience becomes natural. There is no hurry to define the relationship, no pressure to prove anything. Instead, there is a quiet understanding that whatever is meant to grow will grow in its own time. And this patience creates a strong emotional foundation because both individuals are no longer trying to fill a void. They are simply sharing space, sharing moments, and sharing presence. And this presence becomes more valuable than any promise because promises can break, but presence, when genuine, remains consistent. Another important aspect of this stage is emotional honesty. At this age, people stop pretending. They no longer wear masks to impress others. They speak less but mean more. And this honesty creates a rare kind of trust. A trust that is not built in days, but in moments of silence, in the way someone looks at you when you're not speaking, in the way they remember small details about you, in the way they stay when there is no reason to stay except care. And this is where turning psychology reveals its deepest truth, that love is not about what you say, but about what you consistently show. Many people believe that love loses its intensity with age, but the reality is that it transforms, it becomes quieter but deeper, calmer but stronger. It is no longer about excitement or butterflies, it is about stability and emotional safety. And for someone who has spent decades facing life's uncertainties, this kind of safety feels like a blessing. It feels like finally coming home after a long journey. And this is why even a simple routine, like walking together every morning or sharing tea in the evening, becomes meaningful because it represents continuity, and continuity creates comfort. There is also a beautiful acceptance that develops at this stage. People stop trying to change each other. They begin to accept imperfections as part of the person they care about. They understand that everyone carries a past, and instead of questioning it, they respect it. This acceptance removes fear, and when fear disappears, love becomes free. Free from expectations, free from pressure, and free from the need to constantly prove itself, and in that freedom, love becomes stronger than ever before. So when you look at love after 60, do not see it as something less passionate. See it as something more evolved, more meaningful, and more real, because it is built on understanding, patience, honesty, and acceptance. And these are the pillars that create a love that does not fade easily, a love that may not be loud or dramatic, but one that quietly stays, supporting, healing, and growing with every passing day. And if you ever experience this kind of connection, you will realize that it is not just love. It is a second chance at feeling alive, but this time without fear, without rush, and without losing yourself. There comes a deeper layer in love after 60 that many people never talk about, and this is where turning psychology reveals something even more powerful, the ability to love without fear of loss. Because at this stage of life, people have already faced loss in different forms. They have lost people, time, opportunities, and even parts of themselves. So when love enters again, it is no longer controlled by fear, it is guided by acceptance, and this changes everything. Imagine one afternoon Ramesh did not come to the park. Sarla waited quietly, without panic, without overthinking, because she understood that life at this age carries responsibilities, health concerns, and unexpected pauses. And the next day when he returned and simply said he was not feeling well, she did not question him or complain. She just smiled and said, "I'm glad you're here today." And in that simple sentence, there was no demand, no insecurity, only care. This is the maturity that defines love at this stage. In younger years, love often carries fear. Fear of losing the person, fear of not being enough, fear of being replaced, and these fears create pressure, arguments, and misunderstandings. But after 60, people begin to let go of this fear, not because they don't care, but because they understand that holding on too tightly can break what is beautiful. So they give each other space, not distance, but space filled with respect, where both individuals can breathe, think, and exist as themselves. And this space actually strengthens the bond instead of weakening it. Another important transformation is how people handle emotions. Earlier in life, emotions are often expressed impulsively, sometimes with anger, sometimes with expectations. But now emotions become calmer, more thoughtful, and more intentional. People listen more than they speak, they observe more than they react, and this creates a peaceful environment where love can grow naturally without conflict. Even disagreements are handled with softness because both understand that peace is more valuable than being right, and this understanding removes unnecessary tension from the relationship. Turning psychology also shows that at this age, love becomes less about receiving and more about giving, but not in a way that drains you, rather in a way that fulfills you. Small acts of kindness become expressions of love, remembering someone's medicine time, asking if they have eaten, walking slowly together so the other person feels comfortable. These gestures may seem simple, but they carry deep emotional meaning because they show presence, attention, and genuine care. And over time, these small actions build a connection that feels unbreakable. There is also a strong sense of gratitude that develops. People begin to appreciate the person in front of them, not because they are perfect, but because they are there. In a world where time feels limited, having someone who chooses to spend their moments with you feels like a gift. And this gratitude makes love softer, kinder, and more patient. It removes complaints and replaces them with appreciation. And this shift creates a relationship that feels peaceful rather than demanding. So, love after 60 is not about intensity. It is about depth. It is not about holding on tightly. It is about walking together gently. It is not about fear of losing. It is about appreciation of having. And when you understand this, you begin to see that this stage of love is not weaker. It is actually stronger because it is built on acceptance, patience, emotional control, and quiet gratitude. And this kind of love does not need constant reassurance. It simply exists steadily, calmly, and beautifully, like a soft light that never fades even in the darkest moments. There is a quiet realization that begins to settle in the heart after 60, and this is where turning psychology reaches one of its most meaningful points: the understanding that love is not something to control, but something to experience gently, without force, without pressure, and without conditions. Because by this stage, people have already learned that trying to control relationships only leads to distance. So instead, they begin to value emotional freedom, where both individuals can be themselves without fear of judgment or rejection. Imagine one evening when Ramesh and Sarla were sitting together watching the sunset. No plans, no expectations, just sharing the moment, and Ramesh softly said, "I don't know how long we have, but I feel peaceful when I'm with you." And Sarla replied, "That's enough. We don't need more than this." And in that simple exchange lies the truth of mature love. It does not demand forever, it appreciates now. In younger years, love often seeks certainty, labels, and guarantees. People want to define everything clearly. But after 60, there is a deep acceptance of uncertainty, not as something frightening, but as something natural, because life itself has shown them that nothing is permanent. And instead of fearing this, they begin to embrace it. And this creates a love that is free from unnecessary pressure, where each moment is valued for what it is rather than what it could become. And this mindset brings a rare kind of peace that is difficult to find in earlier stages of life. Another important shift is the way people communicate. Words become fewer, but their meaning becomes deeper. A simple "take care" carries more emotion than long conversations. A gentle touch, a patient pause, a quiet presence. All of these become powerful expressions of love, because at this age, people understand that real connection does not always need words. It needs understanding, and understanding often exists in silence. And this silence is not empty. It is full of comfort, trust, and emotional safety. Turning psychology also highlights that at this stage, love becomes a source of strength rather than dependency. Both individuals have already lived independent lives. They have faced challenges alone, made decisions on their own, and built their own identity. So when they come together, they are not looking to complete each other. They are simply choosing to walk together. And this choice creates a balanced relationship where neither feels burdened. Instead, both feel supported. And this support is what makes the bond stable and lasting. There is also a gentle awareness of time. People know that every moment is valuable, and instead of wasting it on conflicts or misunderstandings, they choose kindness, they choose patience, they choose to let go of small issues that once would have mattered, because now they understand that peace is more important than being right. And this awareness changes the entire dynamic of love, making it softer, calmer, and more meaningful. So, love after 60 is not about chasing excitement. It is about holding on to peace. It is not about proving anything. It is about feeling everything deeply and honestly. And when you reach this stage, you realize that the most beautiful part of love is not how loudly it begins, but how quietly it stays, without fear, without pressure, and without the need to be anything other than what it truly is: a simple, steady, and deeply comforting presence in your life. There is an even deeper truth that unfolds in love after 60, and this is where turning psychology becomes almost spiritual. Because love at this stage is no longer just about companionship, it becomes about meaning, about finding a quiet purpose in sharing life with someone who truly understands your journey. By now, people are not trying to build a future in the same way they once did. They are trying to cherish the present, to give value to each passing day, and this changes the entire feeling of love. Imagine one morning when Sarla did not come to the park, and Ramesh felt a strange emptiness. Not panic, not fear, but a quiet awareness of how important her presence had become in his life. And when she returned the next day and simply said she was visiting her grandchildren, he smiled, not because he missed her in a dramatic way, but because he realized that even a small absence could reveal a deep emotional connection. And this is how love expresses itself now, not loudly, but meaningfully. In earlier years, people often measure love by big actions, sacrifices, or dramatic moments. But after 60, love is measured in consistency, in the small routines that quietly become part of daily life. A phone call at the same time every day, a shared walk, a gentle reminder to take care. These small acts may seem ordinary, but they create a rhythm, and this rhythm brings emotional stability, something that becomes incredibly valuable at this stage of life, because stability feels like safety, and safety allows the heart to remain open without fear. Turning psychology also reveals that people at this age begin to let go of ego. They no longer feel the need to win arguments or prove themselves right. Instead, they choose understanding over control. They listen more, they forgive faster, and they avoid unnecessary conflicts because they know that time is too precious to waste on negativity. And this shift makes love lighter. It removes the heaviness that often exists in younger relationships and replaces it with calm acceptance, where both individuals feel respected and valued without needing constant validation. Another important aspect is the sense of emotional balance. Love no longer creates chaos, it creates harmony. Both individuals understand the importance of personal space, rest, and emotional well being. They do not expect constant attention, but they deeply appreciate consistent presence. And this balance makes the relationship feel natural rather than forced, like something that fits perfectly into life instead of disrupting it. And this natural flow is what keeps the connection strong over time. There is also a quiet gratitude that continues to grow. People begin to feel thankful, not just for the person, but for the moments they share. Even the simplest things like sitting together in silence or watching the evening sky become meaningful because they represent togetherness. And togetherness at this stage feels rare and valuable. And this gratitude strengthens the emotional bond in a way that does not require words. It is felt deeply, silently, and sincerely. So love after 60 becomes less about excitement and more about fulfillment, less about passion and more about peace. It is not something that takes over your life. It is something that gently supports it. And when you experience this kind of love, you realize that it is not about how much time you have left, but about how beautifully you choose to spend it. And this understanding creates a connection that feels complete, calm, and quietly powerful. A love that does not demand attention, but naturally earns a permanent place in the heart. And in the final stage of this journey, turning psychology reveals its most powerful truth that love after 60 is not about beginning or ending, it is about understanding. A deep, shan't understanding that life is temporary, but feelings can still be meaningful. And this is where love becomes pure, free from fear, free from pressure, and free from the need to hold on too tightly. Because at this stage, people no longer try to own love. They simply experience it gently, honestly, and fully. Imagine one quiet evening when Ramesh and Sarla are sitting together, the sun slowly setting, the world moving around them. And there is no urgency, no expectations, just a calm presence. And Ramesh softly says, "I don't know how long this will last." And Sarla smiles and replies, "It doesn't have to last forever to be real." And in that moment, everything becomes clear. Love is not measured by time, it is measured by truth. At this stage of life, people finally understand that love is not about changing someone or being changed. It is about acceptance, about seeing someone exactly as they are and still choosing to stay. And this choice, repeated every day in small ways, becomes the strongest foundation of all. There is no need for promises of forever because presence itself becomes the promise. Being there, listening, caring, sharing silence. These simple things hold more value than grand words ever could. And this is why love after 60 feels so different. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is steady, calm, and deeply comforting. Turning psychology also teaches that at this stage, people begin to let go of all unnecessary burdens. Past regrets lose their weight, old fears slowly disappear, and the heart becomes lighter, more open, more willing to feel without hesitation. And this creates a kind of love that heals, not just the present, but also the past, because when someone accepts you completely, it softens the pain of everything you have been through. And in that acceptance, you find peace, a peace that many spend their entire lives searching for. There is also a beautiful realization that love does not need to be perfect to be meaningful. It just needs to be honest. Small imperfections, little flaws, quiet habits all become part of the connection. And instead of creating distance, they create familiarity, a sense of home in another person. And when you feel at home with someone, you stop searching, you stop questioning, you simply exist, and that existence feels enough. So, in the end, the question is not whether love after 60 is real. The question is whether we are ready to recognize its quiet beauty, because it does not shout for attention, it does not demand to be seen, it simply stays patiently, softly, and truthfully. And if you are fortunate enough to experience this kind of love, hold it gently, not tightly. Appreciate it, not fear it, because this is not just love. This is life, giving you one more chance to feel something real, something calm, something deeply human. And the most beautiful ending is not a dramatic goodbye, but a quiet presence that remains in your heart long after the moment has passed. Because true love does not need noise to be powerful, it only needs truth to be eternal.